Welcome to the Press One for Nick podcast. My name is Nick Limsdahl. My guest this week is Alex Frohmeyer. He is the founder and CEO of Beam Dental. They are the first and only native dental insurance company in the country, in the world, in the universe, I think. Alex, welcome to the Press One for Nick podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Good to be with you.
You bet. So one question I ask every single guest at the very beginning is, what's one thing people might not know about you?
I was a left-handed catcher in high school on my varsity baseball team. And it's one of my favorite anecdotes about myself because it both communicates something that many people resonate with. They have a love of baseball or team sports or whatever. And so that can be a good conversation starter in and of itself. But for anybody that knows anything about baseball, the rarity of a left-handed catcher is such that I had to get a custom catcher's mitt made because they don't make them for lefties, and it presents a unique challenge that I always found fun, and I think is also a part of my personality, which is I'm incredibly competitive as a person and ambitious and want to reach the highest success in whatever it is that I'm doing. Yeah. But I really like if I can do it while also being kind of 10 degrees off of normal at the same time. And being a left-handed catcher is a good example of, I think, a broader truth about myself.
I do love that. So was it easier for you to throw to third or to first?
Easier to throw to first, which is actually, I always argued that it was a real advantage, even though it's thought to be a disadvantage, which is that if the typical batter is right-handed, and there's a runner on first, I have a clear lane to throw behind that runner and try to pick them off when they get a secondary lead off of first, and which I could do relatively routinely. And that became a way to kind of keep runners on first honest, which I really enjoyed.
I love that. Just give him the look and he's like, oh no, he's a lefty.
Yeah, you look over there and they're like, ugh, he's got a clear lane to throw back at me here.
That's awesome. Are you a righty? Do you write right and do all sorts of other stuff right, or are you always lefty?
I'm pretty much all left. I mean, certainly like sports and such, I was always left-hand dominant and right left-handed as well. So all the major things left-handed, but no one's figured out how to make doors for lefties. All doors are for right-handed people. It's infuriating.
You're going to get arthritis in that left shoulder as you have to cross the body.
It's the world that we as lefties have to live in, is subject to the discrimination of right-handed doors.
That's funny. I was just a little goofy. I wrote right. I could write right and throw right, but I had to kick left and bat left. So I was all sorts of messed up.
Interesting.
So let's talk about Beam. First off, before you start off talking about Beam, what's the problem that you saw in that dental insurance experience that you were like, man, I got to fix this?
Yeah, it was simply put that dental insurance was broken. And I think when my co-founders and I noticed this is all the way back in 2012, it was fundamentally because we were really actually inspired by the Affordable Care Act, which had passed a few years earlier, but it was beginning to roll out 2010, 2011, 2012. And the big national conversation at the time was around the uninsured population of the US in health insurance, which was like 40 million people. It was huge. And thankfully, because partially of some of the Affordable Care Act and then subsequent, healthcare legislation and other macro factors, that's a much smaller number today in the US. But we then looked that same answer up, which is what's the uninsured population for dental insurance? And the number was like 110 million people. And we were just blown away when we learned that because it wasn't even a part of the discussion. Nobody was trying as hard as they were trying to get the uninsured healthcare population down. That same effort was not being also afforded to the uninsured dental population. And so we thought that not only is that a problem worth solving, but we thought that was a problem that could be solved with technology, and it could be solved in the private markets, specifically because unlike healthcare, which is super complex and has a lot of infrastructure surrounding it. Healthcare is not one thing. It's everything from the emergency room all the way through to chronic disease management for an aging population, and many things in between. Dental insurance and dental coverage and dental care is much more straightforward. It's closer to a private market transaction. Most of dental is more elective in nature than it is necessary care. And we thought that a private market solution to getting more and more people coverage would be a very valuable thing to do with our time. What we didn't imagine in the early days, though, was that in order to fix the broken dental insurance market, that we ourselves were going to become a dental insurance company, which is what we've subsequently done. At first, we wanted to be a technology vendor to help the legacy carriers that operate in our market to get better at what they were already doing. They were providing a dental insurance product. They just weren't doing it to enough people, and they weren't doing it in a way that was affordable and accessible. And they weren't doing it in a way where they understood risk very well. And these are now parts of how we articulate Beam's value proposition, because we found that actually it was more efficient for us to just build these advantages as our competitive moat and actually go and compete by winning our own clients to provide they and their employees and dependents, we do this through the group markets today, with dental coverage that's differentiated along 3 core elements. We want to be the easiest, the smartest, and the most preventive focused company in our segment. And what we think that means is using technology to make the actual transaction of getting dental insurance and administering it incredibly automated and slick and easy and a wonderful experience. That also takes cost out of the system at the same time. We want to be the smartest company, which means building underwriting models that can actually predict claims consumption. And that allows us to reward low risk customers with lower prices because we know they're going to need less intensive dental care. And we can actually reflect that in price. And then being the most preventive focused is probably what gets us closest to our core DNA as founders, and I think as a company culturally, which is dental disease is preventable. Like, all of it is preventable. And so if you want to keep your original teeth throughout your whole life, which I think everybody does, and if you want to avoid getting a bunch of root canals, which I think everybody also does, there's a great way to do that, which is exercise really strong and consistent preventative care throughout your life, both at home, that's just brushing and flossing every day, and then getting routine checkups at the dentist. And so we invest in that very proactively by administering our industry's only dental wellness program, where we actually give connected electric toothbrushes, toothpaste, floss, replacement heads, and other preventive dental care products physically to our members. So that way they have everything they need to exercise good preventative care habits, both currently and in the future.
I love all the stuff that you just talked about. I love the process. I love the experience. I love that you're bringing in technology to disrupt the market. I love the fact that you're continuing to find ways to look at the data and then improve ways to lower the premium. With that in mind, how long did it take for you, maybe as an individual or the founders as a whole, say, hey, you know what, we're going to connect this toothbrush to an app, we're going to brush our teeth and collect data, and then from there, we're going to actually do something with that?
Took a long time. We started Beam in 2012. And we had the wellness program, which at the time we really thought of as, very brush centric, and it still is, meaning that the core product of the business at the time was this IoT toothbrush concept. And it was very similar at the time as wearables. Fitbit in particular was really taking off as a company during that era. And we were really inspired by the idea that you could create your own health data on a Fitbit just by your movement every day. And then that became like a consumer-led piece of data that could be contributed to the big picture of your healthcare. And then that we imagined, which Fitbit subsequently has done, that would be really valuable information for health insurance companies. And it would be really valuable information to be able to reward, meaning that when you saw somebody who was clearly trying to be more active and manage maybe a chronic disease, or just manage their weight more effectively with diet and exercise, you could actually reward it. And now today, there's a much more complex and robust wellness ecosystem across the entire spectrum of healthcare that does this exact thing. So we imagined and articulate in our wellness program today the idea that you can use the simple act of brushing your teeth every day as a mechanism to reward people. So when we see that behavior come through in our data via the connectivity of the brush, we're actually dropping a little money effectively into your piggy bank every day in Beam's ecosystem. And as that money accrues, you can use it to do everything from redeem free replacement heads for the brush itself, all the way through to pay for out of pocket expenses when you go to the dentist. And we could use it for anything. Gift cards, pay for your Netflix subscription. You can really take things in a variety of different directions as long as the user sees this very direct connection between, oh, I did something healthy for my body today, brush my teeth, and then connect that to the reward that they feel and they get to redeem from time to time. No different than how I think about credit card rewards programs, getting some cash back in exchange for my loyalty for swiping the card, or an airline miles program, which is, eventually I get a free flight out of all the flights that I paid for. And that type of reward infrastructure we think is a real value add at the member level and in the broader context of dental health over a long period of time for population health management. So you can imagine the hardest populations to reach and convince that they should be going to the dentist once or twice a year may in fact do a lot for their health if it's in the context of kids being able to get a gift card purely from brushing their teeth every day and those types of models. And that stuff's always really excited us because it's how the consumer space and how healthcare can become more gamified and personalized at the same time.
Yeah, I like the fact that at the end that you just said gamified. I think instant gratification in that dopamine that people are, hey, on social media, somebody liked or shared or commented, it kind of gets them a little bit excited. And customer service is the gamification that you can battle against each other. You can set up teams. I could see that even in the future where there's competitions against families across the country or age groups or all sorts of stuff that you could put to battle and say, I have a cadence where I brush my teeth 3 times a day or 2 times a day for 476 days and I beat you, so now I get to wear this fancy goofy top hat in my emoji or my avatar.
Profile pic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all
I
sorts of
love that.
crazy stuff. So you
And
can.
that's exactly it. And what's so cool about this, I think Roblox is a good example of this exact idea playing out, where the Robux currency that lives inside a game is actually teaching a whole generation of kids like money management principles, basically, and a bunch of other stuff too. But it would be, I think, a really inspirational outcome for all of healthcare to end up convincing entire populations of better management principles around your health with this very long-term payoff via what doesn't feel like healthcare at all. I mean, healthcare is so serious and sober and heavy feeling, right? When we think about healthcare, we think about ambulances and hospitals and emergency rooms and white lab coats, and it's all very serious and heavy subject matter, and it deserves to be in one sense. But healthcare is also the choices you make every day around what you eat and how much sleep you get and how active you are and if you're taking care of your teeth. And there's so many opportunities to make healthcare companies disguised as gamification businesses, and we think there's something really exciting about that in the context of the dental industry specifically.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that people in general, a lot of people, too many people, are afraid to go to the dentist, and it's probably because of the unknown. Like, what happens when I open my mouth and somebody's going to take a peek in there, and maybe there's a cavity, maybe there's a root canal, maybe there's something else that is completely worse that I don't even know about. But if you can gamify that system and have it not be about dental insurance, but about having fun, taking care of yourself, it would be more enjoyable to have that dental experience.
You got it. All of the typical patient needs to hear is the sound of a dentist drill to never want to show up to a dental appointment ever again. And I think our view is, with our focus on prevention as one of the key pillars of the value prop and the way we think about the investment in our and how our business allocates resources over a long period of time. We think there's something really exciting about not eliminating the drill or anything, but creating a layer on top of that, which is much more approachable for the average person and engages them at a level that's good for the dentist and for the member and for Beam as well.
Well said. So with the bundle that you guys offer and the floss and the toothpaste and the toothbrush, and then you have the ability to obtain more heads as you have a better experience, or you have the right cadence or the right amount of points, or however that works. Why is it so important to reduce that effort from your consumers and say, hey, here's a package for you. Here's how to create, here's everything that you need to reduce your insurance. Why is it so important to have that experience and making sure that that user experience is as effortless as possible for your consumers?
It's a great question. I think there's actually a couple of answers, or answers at different levels. One is that not everybody has the products that they need for good long-term dental health. And we offer a very unique clay-based toothpaste, for example, that's ultra premium from a quality perspective, because we know how important the formula of the paste is into the polish quality and then the ultimate resulting dental care quality that you're going to get from that brushing experience. And so we invest in it. And we're investing in our members in a very direct and tactical sense. And the brush not only has the connectivity components, which has the kind of rewards infrastructure built into it as a result, but the brush itself is a powered or electric toothbrush. And what's interesting about that is, depending on data source, only 20 or 30% of the US population has an electric toothbrush, which is provably better as a remover of plaque and tartar from your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And that is another kind of sub-passion area of my co-founders and I, which is, what if via Beam's success as an insurance company, we can actually help bend the curve on adoption of powered or electric toothbrushes, which is objectively going to help great long-term health develop in at least our population that we're offering it to. And so getting that adoption of great tools to help you in the process, we think is really important. At a different level, it's also about that bundle of physical products in the dental wellness program that we administer is also about connecting our members to Beam's brand promise, which is, yes, about the literal products we're giving you. That's that prevention and preventive care pillar in the business, but it actually goes beyond that. And so the brush we actually use in both a literal sense and in a figurative one to communicate that Beam's brand is about a love of and an investment in experience in a much more general sense. And what we mean by that in the business is that we partner with brokers who help us distribute Beam's dental insurance to small and medium-sized businesses. We're doing this in 43 states around the US. We ultimately sell and partner with our clients, which are small and medium-sized businesses who are trying to attract and retain top talent, and that's why they're engaging with employee benefits in the first place. And so we have multiple other constituencies or stakeholders in our value chain than just the end member who has the insurance. There's really three customers, if you will. There's the broker, the business and the end member. And because of that, we've always had a complex story to tell, which is, well, who's the real customer here, and what is the what do I need to know from a value proposition, or what is your brand supposed to tell me that's different than the brand of our competitors?
Hmm.
And the brush has always been such a conversation starter because it's physical. Everybody understands what a toothbrush is, so it doesn't require a ton of explanation.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the grander ambitions of the business to be a technology or a digitally native business that's investing in many different tools and products and applications for the betterment of the broker, the business, and the member. Only some of which is literally about the toothbrush and the wellness program, but the brand promise is all comprised under that flagship product. And it resonates with all of those stakeholders because they understand that Beam is making an investment that goes way beyond the bare minimum you need to administer an insurance product. We're clearly going after an exceptional and differentiated experience. And that really comes through when we position and roll out the brush and the toothpaste, et cetera, to the member. It's gotten, think about an insurance company with an unboxing experience. That's such a unique opportunity to communicate your brand principles, and something that we take seriously. And it's actually, I think, the most fun part of our business in many ways.
Yeah, I've seen a commercial online of the video of an unboxing, and it's not just like you guys throwing in a brown box, a bunch of product, and you're saying, "Hey, best of luck," but the presentation itself is impressive, and I think that's the beginning, and that's the first impression of your organization. And obviously, the process and getting them up and started before they're getting that product, but it's just as important to receive that first impression. Somebody once told me that somebody's first impression can be somebody else's first impression, or somebody's bad experience could be somebody else's first impression. So it doesn't matter how many times, if you don't have insurance, or you don't have dental insurance, or all of a sudden you just signed up for Beam Dental, and your daughter comes home from college and she sees the unboxing, that is her first impression of your organization. And so I think that's so important. Taking that and finding ways to differentiate. I can't imagine. I've had an electric toothbrush for the last electric toothpaste. I almost said that's funny. Electric toothbrush for the last 10 years, and every time I go on a trip, I don't tend to take my electric toothbrush with me, and it just feels different. That experience that I have and the way that my teeth feel is completely different. So highly recommend everybody go and sign up for Beam Dental. But the question I have, flipping from the consumer or the customer and flipping it inwards a little bit, because Beam Dental has been recognized as Inc.'s best place to work actually this year in 2021. So how is your culture rooted in those core values, and why is that so important?
Yeah, I love talking about our culture. It's a real passion area for me personally, not just because I think it's a critical component of what will make Beam continue to be successful as a business. But it's not just a means to an end. It's also, from my perspective, a fun project that never ends, and it's highly complicated, right? People always ask in our interview process if Beam has a quote unquote good culture. And I really struggle to answer the question, because what is a good culture? It's actually totally defined differently and very difficult to objectively enumerate what good means and what culture means as concepts. And I don't think there is such thing as a good or bad culture. There's just a company's unique culture, and either that's going to be a fit for any given person at any given time or not. And so what I spend a lot of time doing is just trying to articulate what the culture is, both for the benefit of our team, because if you don't like what you're hearing, let's go work together to change it, right? And to prospective Beamers that we're inviting into the business at any given time. But you're right in that our cultural values are highly tied to the company's value proposition and what it is that we do every day in the dental market. we build our core values as a business around the acronym GRIT with two T's, GRITT. And it stands for growth, resilience, initiative, tenacity, and team first. And these are values that we've seen in a very specific and visceral sense play out so importantly to Beam's success and frankly survival as a business. I don't think there would be a Beam Dental today if not for the founders having those values, and then certainly our early employees in the business as well. And so it's something these are values we still filter for in our interview process, and is how we manage the performance of our team on an ongoing basis. We're constantly asking ourselves for if we are exuding growth characteristics, if we're tenacious enough, if we're being great teammates to each other. And we talk about these subjects a lot in the all hands context and smaller meetings all the time. And we think that the success of the company is largely going to come down to not if we can build the product well, not if we can delight our users, not if dental insurance needs a digitally native new entrant. It's going to be whether or not Beam can take its culture, articulate it to the team, and then continue to get ever more focused on delivering against our core values. And then kind of what the business does every day becomes much more of an output rather than an input, and should spell success for the business no matter what it is that we happen to do.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it's not easy. If you don't have grit, it's hard to succeed and continue to innovate as an organization. And also what grit stands for. So congrats on winning the award and continuing to lean into the employees, because at the end of the day, the old equation is employee experience equals customer experience, because they are a direct reflection of your organization. So well done there. So for what is next? What's next for Beam Dental?
We're having already a really exciting year. And I think one of the things that hits at our core values from last year especially was the R in grit, resilience. Last year was a year of resilience and adaptability for probably every company on the planet, and was a real cultural litmus test, I think, for what type of cultures get stronger actually during something like a global pandemic or a moment of adversity, and then what cultures like totally fall apart. And Beam, thankfully passed the test. We passed a key cultural test last year, and we've really been able to springboard as the economy and the whole world has opened back up this year to already have a phenomenal year in growth and development. We'll hit 300 employees this year, which we're really excited about. I think we're like 270 or so already to this point this year. And when I click even further into the future, I think we're excited about a couple key things for us. One of them for sure is, how do we as a business continue to invest in experience in a very visceral way? Our wellness program is getting our third generation hardware, aka the next generation of our toothbrush, which will come at the very beginning of 2022, which we're incredibly excited about. Huge leap forward in all ways for just the quality of that program and where we can take it as a result of some new stuff on the outside and some stuff packed into the inside as well. So we're really excited about that. And then another is continuing to solve our customers' needs, our customer in this case being a small or medium-sized business. Benefits have never mattered more than they matter right now. The talent wars are just beginning. The digital workforce is really taking off. The remote digital workforce obviously is also really getting its time in the sun. And that means that benefits that are more office centric have maybe been de-emphasized. Benefits that live with the person are more emphasized. Dental insurance is a great example, but there are also many other employee benefits that Beam wants to be conscious of and help deliver to our clients. And so today already, Beam doesn't just do dental insurance, though that's our core product. We have vision insurance, we have life insurance, we have long and short-term disability coverage as well. And we imagine that there are going to be a continual addition of other employee benefits products that help our customers be successful in attracting and retaining their employees, emphasizing the employee experience, and helping live Beam's brand values. Things that help supplement healthcare, for example, we think, which is a rising cost for both the employer and the employee. We think that's a really important problem that we can play a role in helping tackle and address as well. So we think the future is really exciting, not just because of what will happen in our core dental market and product, but also the broader concept of digitally native employee benefits.
Nice. So you can't solve all the world's problems, but you can get close, it seems like.
But at least 90% of the world's problems.
That's
they
all
all
I'm
live in there
asking.
somewhere.
That's all I'm asking. So, Fro, I ask every single guest 2 questions as we wrap up. The first one is, what book or person in customer service or customer experience has influenced you the most in the past year? And then the second one is, if you could leave a note to all of those people, all the customer service and customer experience people, it's going to hit everybody's desk Monday at 8 a.m. What would it say?
Book is easy. I actually have it right here. It's called No Rules Rules. This is Reed Hastings from Netflix's founder. And he's written multiple books in the past actually on the topic of culture and Netflix's unique approach to culture. Most of which I agree with, but the exercise of this book in particular is not necessarily to agree with how Netflix does it and then just do it the way Netflix does it, but it makes you think about how well of a job you're doing at understanding your business's culture today. And then if you want to make changes to it, or if you want the company to collectively agree to make changes to it, how to articulate the culture in a way that provides the forum to then institute changes. And so the book's been really influential for me. And we actually have, I think our whole executive team has a copy and is kind of doing an informal book club with it right now to help communicate through the lens of Netflix how they have gone about over their 20-year history now. Yeah, I think 20-year history, how they've actually ebbed and flowed their culture and how they've created an ongoing forum to continually nudge and adapt their culture to the employees themselves and then the goals of Netflix, the business. And so I think that's been super influential. And then when I think about how that connects to customer support, there's probably 2 things that come to mind. One is that everybody's job is customer support. So there are some explicit roles that connect with our customers in a very direct way, but we should all be thinking about the member experience and working on it every day, no matter what your technical title is or the part of the business that you work on. And so I think that's a cultural component to when we think about grit, how we want to then make it come to life, which is that experience and service are really fundamentally what the product is. Dental insurance is a product, but it's also an experience and it's a service that we're providing. So we think that's really important. And then the second thing to our customer support teammates would be the inspiration that we want everybody to have when they're working on what can become a very academic topic like insurance, where it's all about deductibles and annual maximums, and there's data and there's what happened in this dental appointment. It can get really academic. It's putting an overlay on it, which goes back to the beginning of our conversation around experience, gamification, and the consumerization of health as a more global topic. And what I mean by that is, if we can make somehow that very tactical discussion about what's going on with the deductible calculation feel fun, interesting, approachable, and kind of light in a way, it begins to divorce the experience that our member is having from being one that is about the task at hand only and being about solving a problem for a customer, let's say, but doing so in a way that actually puts value back in the hands of that customer. So they feel like they didn't waste the 10 minutes on the phone, but instead got something for it. So we really think of rewards as being an opportunity, not just as a thing that we tie to brushing your teeth every day, but also to interacting with Beam about anything. When you get a bill or an invoice from us, how are we rewarding you for it? When you finish your enrollment, your open enrollment period every year as a business, how does Beam reward you for that? When we roll you out as a newly implemented customer and officially turn you on as a new customer of Beam, how are we rewarding you for that? When we pay a claim on your behalf because you went to the dentist and got some work done, how are we rewarding you for that? We think there are actually many different opportunities along the customer journey to give something back to our customer. Doesn't need to be financial necessarily. It needs to be recognition. And we think that feedback loop creates a very loyal customer who understands what's happening and why, and gamifies the experience in a way that it doesn't really feel like work. It doesn't really feel like healthcare anymore. It feels like an experience that you might have with some of your favorite products and experiences in daily life. So those are our goals.
That's awesome. And if you could leave a note to all these, to not just Beam, but the world around that experience, maybe, what would it be?
The note is, the note is the game that you're playing with Beam is both, explicitly and implicitly the game of better healthcare, and it's the game of prevention. And it's a game that you will win with investment as a human being, and it's a game Beam will win as a brand along with you. And so we're your partner in helping you play and win this game.
I love that. In marketing, you are either, there's a guy that I follow, and he's like, you are either the guide or you're the hero. He's like, the people in organizations, most of the time they just open up and their black leather jacket and they say, hey, which watch do you want? We're the best in the world. They don't actually say, hey, I've been through this jungle before, and there's some scary things out there, and I'm going to help remove some of these barriers to get to where you want to go on the other side. And I feel like you guys are doing that at Beam Dental. You guys are finding ways to create and reduce effort and guiding people to a better experience on the other side.
Got it. That's what we love to. It's what we love to do as a business, and I think we're still in the early innings as well of that investment and how we think about that feedback loop. So I think that's also really fun, is all the things we aren't doing yet that maybe we have an idea about, but also things that we don't even know about yet. And so it's kind of fun to think about the future is going to reveal a handful of opportunities that we aren't even anticipating. And I think that's also part of the fun, part of the journey.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the success that you guys have as well. For what is the best way for people to find you or Beam Dental?
We hang out on LinkedIn a lot, actually, as a business, because that's where small businesses are looking for resources and help and connecting with others. So Beam Dental on LinkedIn. I'm also there, of course, just under Alex Frohmeyer. I'm on Twitter at Alex Frohmeyer. And then our website is beam.dental. So you can find us there anytime.
I had a blast, Fro, man, and I really enjoyed it. Had a ton of value for the listeners. So thank you so much, and looking forward to the success you guys have here in the future.
Same, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, and we'll catch up soon.